Yep.
This is why we're doing it, and I'm just very honored to be in the company of, if you all had, like, we know the age difference here, right? I'm an old head. You guys are young soldiers. If you was going to speak to the modern day church, what would you say for older people to do? If you thinking there's anything lacking, you think it's okay. What do you feel that our age could do to help your walk in any way, shape, or form? If you want to, elaborate on that. Is there anything that you could think that the generation above you, like moms, pops, grandpas, what could they do? What would you ask them to help you with? And therefore encourage them to get tighter. You know what I mean? So sometimes we get old and frail and stale. I mean, I don't want to get that way. That's why I just pray that I stay strong. But what would you want?
Answer questions and be patient.
That's a good one.
Teach them to know God, not just know God.
Elaborate on that.
Like, I can know, like, what kind of bird is in front of me, right? But do I really know it, or do I just know the name of it?
Okay.
Right?
So what you're saying is to be more in depth.
Yes. Have a relationship with God versus I know God.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
God, yeah, I know God.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, my Father in heaven.
Right.
The one who's always been there for
wow.
me.
So that means be more of an example than to say, be the example rather than give an example, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I feel that. Because I feel in this day and age, I get challenged by my grandkids, man. They got memories. They sharpen my pencil. Wait a minute, you said, they're really, the younger generation, you guys got what it takes, but you need guidance to get there.
That's true.
You got it. When I look at you, I'm like, man, I wasn't that smart when I was that young. You guys got all this brilliance, and God is showing me that, hey, but you're coming from a time they've never seen. They're going to go to a time that you'll probably not get to, but while you got both worlds here, teach. And that's why we go back. Yeah, that's why we go back to make disciples. Teach. Give them the example. Don't just give them the example. Be the example. Yeah. And if you make a mistake, let them see that it's okay, but recover from it. Because this is not no easy walk. Everybody, that's why he called it a body. He didn't say, well, you travel alone. Then you might feel like that even if you're in the body. But the body should feel that and say, my young people need more help. I got to get stronger because I see the help. If I go unaccountable for that, that's on me. That's on me. So as an older man, I'm challenging older people. I'm the last of the baby boomers, man, 1964, Joe from the liquor store. But I'm still here giving these seeds of encouragement. And I challenge everyone my age and older, just help our young people. That's our future. And if we don't speak into that, what are we really saying? Like my brother Pete said, he said, give an example without, how'd you word that? I don't want to mess it up.
Teach them to know God and not just know about God.
That means you got to get more, you got to get more indulged. You got to raise the bar. You can't put responsibility on our young people when you're not taking responsibility that's been put on you.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. And so it comes with what Brother Zabi said, patience. And don't just count me off because I'm asking 100 times. How many times have you asked and you don't tell me? So, I just think accountability needs to be, put out there. You see my tone done went up because I'm serious. This is the future, man. Our young people are our future. What did God save me for? To sit here and say I'm saved? I don't think so.
Absolutely.
Not when he showed me everything that he wants me to do. And if I can't do it with his help, I'll be able to do it. Maybe not now, but I got to keep the faith until it's done. If it's not seen yet, have faith that it will be seen. That's why we're here by faith.
Amen. And that goes straight into Hebrews 11, verse 1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
Talk about it.
So basically what you were saying, where you're from a generation we didn't see to prepare us for a generation you won't see.
Right.
That's exactly what it is.
Say that again. You said it better than I did. I took the long way around, but sounds
but
good.
it makes sense. You came from a generation that we haven't seen to prepare us for a generation you won't see.
Right, and so that kind of makes me accountable. Like, hey, they don't know about that just because they got to Google that what you did, but you'll never see what they're going for.
Yeah.
Help them, and so because that's all I hear, man. People my age, you know, in their 50s and 60s. They just, well, this generation. If I hear one more person say that, bro, I'm serious. I don't hang out with people my age. They're too old. No, for real, because this generation here, like they just, okay, here we go. The generation baby boomer, boom. They just go, this generation just showed up and they said, you had them. They're your, I mean, bro, how hypocritical is that?
You'll be cool with your grandkids, but when someone comes around who's around your grandkids' age, you're like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make any kind
Now
of
we're
sense.
and we know that's passing judgment. So, you know, I'm speaking from an older gentleman that we got, you know, we're not perfect, but look, we got purpose, man. And our purpose is to make sure that our future is bright. We can't just look at the news and get news clues and all that. We have to elaborate. We have to get involved with our young people.
Yeah.
These are coming up soldiers, man. And the more questions they ask, guess what? I'm proof of it. You get stronger from these questions because they know, they can feel it. So we have to be. That's the way God designed it. And he talks in the Old Testament from generation to generation to generation. Who curses? Who curses the generation? Oh, my daddy's daddy did it. And you still doing it? Mm-hmm. You know that wasn't right, but you're just going to cop out and say, how many times did I use my dad for my alcoholism? Well, he drank, so I drank. Bro, that's an excuse.
Yeah.
That's an excuse, bro. I mean, well, you know, I'm the firstborn to just navigate, you know. Bro, that's still an excuse. What about when you start having children? Is your son gonna use that on you?
Yeah.
You have to break that cycle.
History is cyclical.
Yes. And so our young people, when they're crying out, asking questions, acting up, they need help. You did the same thing, just in a different time frame.
Exactly.
Just because you got more modernized stuff, oh, we didn't have cell phones. Yeah, you wasn't that smart anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So I'm saying for myself, I wasn't, man, I can't get down. I cannot do it like that. I got to learn. And, you know, I'll give you an example. When I'm talking to my granddaughter, rather than her debate me, she'll search it up. Search it up, Papa. And I search it up, and sure enough, she's right. So these tools, we don't have to just blame them on Satan. God is getting out there, and he's using everything.
Yeah.
He's using the whole world. When he said go out into the four corners of the earth, well, how you think he's going to do that? He's going to use the social media to do that, just like the devil's doing it. So we can't be so impatient with our children and our grandchildren and our youth that we just think that we've made it. No, we're more in trouble now than we ever was. Guess what? If you give it to the soldiers, the young people, they just might save us from ourselves because they got it a little bit more than you think if you talk to them. Be accountable for it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had to.
No, you're good. That's why
Old
we're
man
here.
rant, man. It's just,
Old man rant.
I see this, and when you get involved with young people's life, man, that's what keep you young.
That's
the way
true.
God said do it. He didn't say scold them and more. You getting spanked every day, but then you want to tell them they're not doing right? God chastises the ones he loves. Take the chastise, do the thing, get it right, and be an example of what not to do.
And okay, I love vocabulary.
Okay.
I'm not super smart when it comes to English and
Yeah.
vocabulary, but I love when you expand upon things. So the word chastisement, right? You said like when you're chastised, like go and love other people, right? God chastised those he loved, right? But in the scriptures, God chastised Peter the most, and he still chose Peter to be the leader of the church, right?
Yes.
And so you think, well, how does Peter feel when he just gets bombarded by God all the time? It's like, no. When Christ said, "Get behind me, Satan," thou art an offense unto me.
He was chastised.
He didn't say, "Now go away."
Yeah.
No, he said, he walked up to Peter and said, "Let me explain to you what I mean. Like, this is what I mean by that. You're saying things that are not the will of God.
Right.
And yes, I called you Satan, but not because you are Satan, but you're allowing him in your heart.
Yeah.
He after you chastise someone, correct someone, you always follow up with love.
You have to.
Because that's God's
There's
way.
no learning. There's no discipline without that love. It's, you know.
That's so true.
You know, it's like, but I'll tell you, going back to the old days, in my days, my parents said, my dad said, a child is to be seen, not heard. Now that crippled me so much because I had so many things to ask and so many things were in my head, but I dare not ask because I'm in a child's place. Yeah. You know, and it went up into adolescence. When I become a young man, I'm like, okay, you still looking at me as a child? Then I'll become a man and you still say, you're my son. But that don't make you right.
No.
Right.
It doesn't make you right. And so now I'm starting to see, well, you don't know as much as you say you do. Because I'm seeing you make these mistakes that I didn't know this at 5 and 6 and 7, but now at 21, 22, I'm saying you ain't got it together. Now it becomes a conflicting. Now we're gonna bump heads.
You look at your dad and you say, you lost, bro.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Lost.
it's like, fortunately, before my dad passed, he knew I was a man of God. I gave, he's seen the full authority of God in my life, and it challenged him. But that's what it's supposed to do. I don't challenge you, the Spirit of God does. So when we talk to a child or when we chastise them, that fear of the Lord is in them, and that calls for respect. When you love them saying, that was God. I'm as wrong as you are, but I know right. And to be accountable, I have to show you. Because guess what? I got spanked for it too. We all get chastised.
Right.
So they won't feel like, okay, you're just picking on me or you're just doing this. You don't just whoop a child and think he's just going to keep doing it.
Right.
But if you explain to him, this happens for a reason. You don't want this to keep happening.
Yeah.
That'll set in. I don't spank my grandchildren. I just have a tone. Hey. And they're like, okay, he's on that. He's not playing now.
Yeah.
Well, I better go and sit down. Because, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, from my experience is a lot of times the people who do the correction, the discipline, don't build a relationship with the child they're disciplining. And so when the child is disciplined, they don't see I'm being taught to do what's right. They see him being punished.
Right.
Right? And so, with your son, right? If you have a great relationship with your son, and you correct him, he's gonna be like, Dad, I'm sorry, you're right. I did something wrong. I'll learn. I'll try not to do it again.
Right.
But if you never see the kid and you're gone all the time, and you come home and he's just being a natural kid who explores, who runs, who yells, and then you punish him for being a child,
right?
Then he's not gonna be like, oh, Dad loves me.
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, oh, if I'm like you said, I'm supposed to just be seen, not heard.
Right.
Like I need to appease Dad so that I can survive in this world.
Right.
And we don't, from my experience, the older folks didn't teach my generation to be their own man.
Right.
They were taught to be a man the way they wanted, not be their own person.
The generational custom of
Yes.
it, and that stands from all of us. I know we all have, my dad's dad, and all this. I'm like, well, that worked for them, but this looks like brutality to me. I can't be myself. I mean, I want to grow. Why did Jesus say, let the little children come when the disciples tried to say, hey, leave Jesus alone?
Right.
He said, no, let them babies come to me. They know my heart. Matter of fact, if you don't humble yourself and come as them, grown man, you won't see the kingdom of heaven. So we have to have some discipline ourselves before we do a disciplinary action, because they have to understand that I'm in the fear of the Lord, but I got to put you in that for us to communicate so we both can stay obedient.
Right.
And that's how, I learned that very late, because it was like, man, I felt like I messed my whole life up and I didn't know this, but God taught me through his word.
Exactly.
And I got to refer some of that to my dad, and he was like, yeah, you're not the son I used to know. I say, exactly, Pop, I'm not. Because we always clash, because you were always going to be older, I was going to always be your son, and that was that. And that's not enough when someone's coming up. So it goes back to help our youth, man, because they're the better part of who we are, if we see that.
And that's just like what you were saying about how like a father is going to, if you have a good relationship with them and then you teach that son, then that, the son's going to be like, I'm sorry, Dad. He'll come back and like repent. And he'll be like, I'm sorry. That's exactly how God is with us. And that's what I've noticed when you look at fathers who don't listen and be there for their children, and then you punish them. This is the misconception people have with God. If you look at the Old Testament, people will read the surface. They'll read it as God's just jealous. God doesn't like that I worship a bull. Like, no. No. God doesn't like the fact that you're worshiping things that are not of him, because you are of him.
Right.
So why would you worship something that's not you, right? That goes to like, it's the same thing, because you're not gonna sit there and just like, oh, well, you know what? I don't believe in God. I'm gonna go worship some pop star.
Right.
That pop star technically has nothing to do with you.
Right.
But they're just like you. They're just on the same level as you. The only thing is the world has propped them up to put them ahead of God. But going back to what I was saying about the father-son thing is, when you look at how he treats you, right, kind of same thing as like the prodigal son or just any other thing where they talk about his love as a father, he builds that relationship with you, so that way when he teaches you, that's why he says, repent and be saved, what's that word? Not it's repent and be saved with a repentful and remorseful heart,
Godly
not
sorry.
not a fearful heart.
Right.
You don't come to him being like, God, I'm sorry, I'm scared. Don't zap me with fire. Like that's not what he wants from you. What he wants is he wants you to come feeling godly sorrow, feeling remorse in your heart for what you did, for feeling conviction for what you did, right? So that way you don't condemn yourself.
Right.
And so that's exactly what he does, and that's how you know you have. That's honestly something when you were saying that. That's kind of like I'm like, oh wow, he's right, because you realize it in yourself. Like that's how you know you have a relationship with God, is if you feel bad for the things that
Conviction.
you've done. When you feel that conviction, you're like, man, I just did that. And like that's not what God wants me to do. So I'm gonna. That's when you know
You feel bad for what you've done. You're scared because of what you've done.
Right.
Exactly. You feel bad.
Difference. It's a
I mean,
difference.
sometimes you can be scared of what you've done because you know with it comes punishment, but that also goes right back to the fear of the Lord, because if all you do is fear God, then you're not worshiping God.
Right.
You're worshiping a false idol.
But
That's-
even people who do evil willingly can fear the results, right?
Exactly.
But the difference
I did it all.
us-
We did it all the time
Yeah.
before we knew God.
A lot of them are sociopaths and egomaniacs, or narcissists. Really, like a bunch of buzzwords I know, but basically what it is those people, they'll do these things, and they feel absolutely no remorse.
Right.
And that was something that I used to do. I used to do
They'll be
that.
afraid, but they won't feel any remorse.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And they'll like, for example, they'll
That's
use
scary.
people. They'll use people and then they don't feel anything. But if you feel something, that means your heart is still open to the possibility of repenting to it. Right? That's why no matter how much I tried to use people to get a bag of weed, no matter how much I use people just to have like that little bit of validation, I always felt bad in the end.
Right.
And that's because
Conviction.
it's conviction, because your heart was not built that way.
Right.
Your heart was not built to be hard from the start.
you're
Your
going-
heart,
you're
you
going against
made it
who you
hard.
are, yeah.
Exactly. Because that's what happened to Pharaoh. That's what happened to Pharaoh, because God said he's going to harden his heart. But the thing is, Pharaoh probably always had a chance to just let his people go. That's why that's why Moses asked and demanded in a loving and questioning tone to let my people go. Right? He requested it.
And
But-
who did he come in authority of? He told him.
Came in the authority of his
said,
God,
said,
our
let-
God.
Yeah, let him go. And he just rebelled against that. And, that's what I'm saying. And, that's to talk about that, man. It's easy being a dad or to tell your son, this is what you're not going to do. You don't talk to him about how not to do it or why not to do it. You just say, well, I'm going to get in trouble. You know how many times I messed up because the fear if I mess up, I was so scared of messing up, I messed up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, I'm like, man, I'm going to mess up because I'm already nervous. I don't really know what to do. I feel like this is what I shouldn't do. I remember one time a conversation me and my pops had, man. I had bought the drink, right? I had the cigarettes. I got a drink. He has a drink. I got a cigarette. He has a cigarette. He looks at me and said, you need to quit smoking and drinking. While we're both smoking and drinking, bro, and I'm just like, my mind is like, excuse me? I kind of got really heated because I'm like, first of all, I bought this, man. And why don't you be an example? Show me how to quit smoking and drinking before you tell me how to quit smoking and drinking. But we get so authoritative that we play that daddy role as God and say, you need to. But I'm looking at you do it every day. You're indulging me. Matter of fact, you didn't stop me when I went to go possess this, but you wait till I start doing it and say something you don't like, that you say I need to stop.
He's projecting.
And
'Cause
so
when he says that you need to stop, he's telling himself that.
Exactly. But it confused the heck out of me because I don't look at a mirror image. I'm looking at you, my pops, I love you, but why are you telling me this? It's kind of like, I don't know. But this is what we go through when we don't help our young people. When we come to Christ, we don't want to admit it, but that same spirit is there. It's like, now that you got God, now I'm going to be God for you and tell you what God posted. No. Show me your chastisement. Show me why he do you
Exactly.
the way he does so I won't do it. I need, like you said, show me how to know God and just, not however you said it. It was
And
so
not know
beautiful.
about God.
Yeah, it's like be the example, man. And not show the example of an example, but be the example to me.
Exactly.
So I'll